FSG turned to partial sale of Liverpool to raise millions for transfers. Liverpool's owners, Fenway Sports Group, seeking a partial sale of their stake in the Reds. Last month, it emerged that FSG had been open to offers for Reds seeking minority investment for more than a year, and has commissioned major US banks Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley to handle the process. The Boston Globe, newspaper privately owned by FSG director John Henry, claims that Reds owners are now turning to a partial sale of their ownership rather than a full takeover, and the club is in talks with a series of suitors around a full sale or stock purchase. Sources told the Boston Globe that a partial stock sale is the most likely outcome for FSG, with the desire to raise capital for both player recruitment and capital improvements at the forefront of a desire to explore options for the club in the market. At the Boston Red Sox press event Wednesday, attended by Henry and other key FSG partners, the Globe reported that sources have told them that any investor must be philosophically aligned with the financial principles and team-building philosophies of FSG. The report also states that while FSG remains open to offers of a full takeover, they have yet to receive compelling attention. Well-located US sources said last month that the FSG's move was purely exploratory and tested the waters. Owners seem keen to see the club's value as an asset in the current market following the £2.5 billion deal for Chelsea earlier in the year. However, it is said that if a good offer comes, they will not be an obstacle to selling the club. Frankly, in both cases, it's sure to be a very positive job for Liverpool, given the increased budget. If the FSG management is waiting for investors to give Klopp larger transfer budgets, this will both provide an advantage in terms of the management's long-term knowledge of the club and prevent Saudi state-supported companies from buying the club. Of course, Saudi investors' interest in the club may bring greater expenditures, but an investor in a country where human rights are applied differently seems to impress some fans. Of course, although some of the other teams in the league are new owners of Saudi-backed companies, this may cause some backlash from Liverpool's point of view. Although many successes have been achieved in the management of FSG, the lack of expected transfer expenditures in recent years has been a factor that drew the reaction of many fans. However, considering that such a path is being followed to attract new investors, as cited by sources, the thought of presenting larger budgets to Klopp seems exciting. Klopp has done really well to build a competitive Liverpool with lower transfer expenses compared to their rivals. The fact that the German coach is able to create a staff with better budgets is quite remarkable, especially considering that a very important revision is foreseen next year. Liverpool follow closely the teammate of Lionel Messi and Enzo Fernandez. After 4 years of waiting, the World Cup is finally back. Premier League football has been paused for the next month and a string of Liverpool stars are vying for the cup in Qatar. As the group stage continues, Liverpool watchers are keeping a close eye on players worth watching throughout the tournament. With a few roster vacancies to be addressed in the upcoming transfer windows, Jürgen Klopp and Julian certainly look like eager viewers from afar. Although the eyes were on Messi in Argentina, which emerged as the leader of his group, Alexis Mac Allister, a name closely followed by the Red Scouts, became the focus here. Enzo Fernandez is rightly considered the child of wonder in Group C, but the Reds seem to have found their alternative after Benfica demanded a very high price tag. Instead of talking about his qualifications one more time, Mac Allister may take the stage this time. Brighton and Hove Albion talent has come under the radar in the Premier League since it was bought from Argentinos Juniors for around £7 million in the winter window of 2019. The 23-year-old was initially loaned back to his old club after signing and spent time at Boca Juniors before returning to England in 2020. Since then, he has been a constant member of the thriving Seagulls team under Graham Potter and now Roberto De Zerbi. Mac Allister was initially perceived as a creative number 10, but it soon became clear that he was versatile enough to contribute to other departments. Over the past 18 months, he has been deployed on both wings, in the deeper and more developed areas of midfield, and even as a centre forward. He generally showed a healthy degree of tactical flexibility. The South American starlet has plenty of time to continue to develop in Europe and has an always positive Premier League experience. Perhaps more impressively, Mac Allister seems to be contributing to the defense despite his reputation as a creative spark. So far this season, he is ranked 4th among England midfielders for tackles and interceptions, behind only João Palhinha, Tom Suek and Tyler Adams. This makes her nature to be described as a worker rather than a luxury creator to be moved. He spent most of the new season as part of a midfield duo with Liverpool-linked Moises Caicedo. Sky Germany's Florian Plettenberg says the Ecuadorian is next to Jude Bellingham on the Reds shortlist this week, and despite the Ecuadorian midfielder's reputation for winning the ball, McAllister is actually averaging 90 more tackles and tackles per 90 minutes than he does this term. He looks much more disciplined than many fans would expect at first glance at his game. Compared to the typical offensive-oriented skill, he works very hard and knows well when to roam and when to hold the goal. He has started all of Argentina's matches in the World Cup so far. If Lionel Messi's team continues to progress, McAllister will make a significant contribution by continuing to help midfielder Fernandes and his offensive skills circulating ahead of him. Despite the general clamour for Caicedo at Merseyside, perhaps the rumours surrounding his name are acting as a smokescreen for his Brighton teammate. It seems quite reasonable for Liverpool's midfield, which has become imperative to change. Moreover, considering that the main target is Jude Bellingham and a very high transfer budget will be spent on the British star, McAllister could be a perfect move. It is certain that there will be an environment where he can develop his skills under Klopp, and let's not forget that he will have a long career ahead of him as he is only 23 years old. The Argentine star, valued at €32 million by Transfermarkt, has contributed to his team by scoring 5 goals in 14 Premier League games this season. The Liverpool star was praised. Former English winger Kieran Dyer has claimed that Liverpool's Trent Alexander-Arnold should play every game for England in the World Cup. Alexander-Arnold has played just over half an hour of the Three Lions campaign so far. However, Dyer insisted that the Liverpool defender should take on a larger role. I've coached with Trent and heard about Gary Neville and all the experts on what Trent can't do. We never embrace what players can do. Can you imagine it was against the USA last night? I haven't seen a technique like this since David Beckham, and it's a right back, said the expert. It's incredible going forward. Trippier had a phenomenal season at Newcastle. But Trent, and that's not disrespectful to Trippier, speaking of assists, he already broke the record for every assist in existence for a fullback. I used to play him in all those games. He managed a coin for half an hour against Wales, giving England a 2-0 lead. But beyond that, he is the manager's third choice at right back. Kyle Walker started ahead of him on Tuesday, despite not playing in over a month. That's not good enough, as Trent is a standing player. What's more, it's downright bizarre, as Brazilian legend Cafu points out. Of course, it's not his fault. While not in top form, he is still England's most talented option in the position. Still, until he becomes a new man in charge of his country's team, he will likely stay on the sidelines.